Hey guys, welcome back to today's video. So today we're going to be doing Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders versus Ben Shapiro, a conservative talk show host who's pretty mildly known across the country. He's not like a senator type popular across the country. He's not necessarily the most popular person, but he's definitely he's out there. I mean, that's pretty much all I can say. I can't really put a definite scale on how someone in Montana might take him compared to someone in like my state of Maryland. You know, it's not like a generalized view of someone like Ted Cruz or someone like Bernie Sanders, of course. But I've decided not to factor in the name recognition that we would see, because obviously Bernie Sanders would probably do better a little bit with that. I mean, a lot more people know Bernie Sanders compared to Ben Shapiro. And also another thing, the Democrats have a candidate whose initials are BS, and the Republicans have one also whose initials are BS, which is pretty interesting, to say the least. And also, I was in the newspaper, so I came home from school today, and someone texted me saying that my face was on the front page of the newspaper. So I went to the front of my house, and I saw the newspaper, and here I was. I did an interview a couple weeks ago about my YouTube channel. Obviously, you all know what that is. But yeah, so I had that. I was interviewed about that. Back then, I had 7,000 subscribers and 2.4 million views on my channel, like channel-wide. And now I have an article in the newspaper. So that's really awesome. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure you guys knew that I'm thankful for every one of you. And yeah, I mean, I'll probably do a live stream where I'll show you guys what it looks like, because obviously we have the electoral map up and not my face cam. But pretty much it's really awesome, and I'm super thankful. Yeah, we'll get more into it, I believe, tomorrow night, probably when I come back from a school activity around like 11. Sorry about that, but it is a Friday night, so we could possibly do a live stream then. But let's just go back to this video, and if you have any questions about that, comment down below. I'll post it on like my Instagram and everything later on. My Instagram is currently deactivated, but it'll be back up in like a day. So also another announcement, sorry, I'm really prolonging this video. So I'm going to come out with my House election night, which is something that I haven't done in a while. It's not going to be called like each congressional district. Obviously, that would be 435 calls. It's going to be called state by state, and we're going to see the net gain or loss for each political party. And I'm going to put up a congressional map with the colors filled in for each respective call. I'm not going to do too close to call districts. Apologize about that, but I want to get straight to the point, and I want to get these all done, because if we did a too close to call, you know, the House majority would be in the air for multiple poll closing calls, and I really just think we should get straight to the point, go through with it, and then see who comes out with the majority based on my prediction. And I also don't think you guys want to see like a 25-minute long video when it could be condensed down to 12 or 13 minutes. So yeah, looking at the map, we have Bernie Sanders versus Ben Shapiro. So first of all, I think Bernie Sanders would do extremely well against Ben Shapiro. I don't find Ben Shapiro's attitude to be at all something that's encouraging for the Republican Party. He's good at debating, he's good at talking, but he's not good at convincing people to vote for him. He speaks extremely condescending to a number of the people that he disagrees with, and he tries to make them look bad. However, it will backfire on a presidential level. He can do this when it's between minor talk show hosts or someone like from the Young Turks, but it's not going to work on a presidential level. The only one who can actually do something like that is Donald Trump, and this guy is no Donald Trump. He will be held to the same standard as every other politician, compared to Donald Trump, who is not held to pretty much any standard. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, this Donald Trump came out of essentially nowhere when we're talking about politics. He wasn't a representative. He wasn't a senator. He did not serve in the United States military. Yet somehow an unexperienced man came into the White House. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. Reshaping politics so that other people can start to run isn't always a bad thing. I do think that a politician should have a little bit of experience before entering the presidency of the United States. But again, whatever Trump's doing now, he's doing. I'm not going to comment about that just yet. But Ben Shapiro, I'm not going to factor in like primaries or things like that, or Donald Trump. This is just strictly based off candidate versus candidate. So first of all, I've labeled all the safe states for Bernie Sanders. Now I'm going to start labeling all the safe states for Ben Shapiro. That second district, of course, usually is never considered safe for either candidate. Georgia, I'm pushing a little bit, putting it in the safe column. That's why I'm not going to. I accidentally clicked it. But so we have 163 electoral votes for Ben Shapiro. You know, some of you may argue Indiana, Missouri could possibly go blue. I'm just going to leave it red for right now, just based off how partisan it's been. But we're going to see pretty much Bernie Sanders win every single state that Hillary Clinton carried. It's not going to be that hard for him. He's actually one of the most popular politicians across the country, and it's not going to be the hardest thing for him to do. This puts him at 232 electoral votes. Ben Shapiro probably would be demolished in presidential debates, and I understand that he could excite younger generations of voters, but Bernie Sanders has them locked down. He has them in, as Al Gore would say, a lockbox. They're not going to the Republican Party anytime soon, especially with someone like Bernie Sanders on the Democratic ticket. If it was Hillary Clinton, maybe. Ben Shapiro does not appeal to young voters the same way Bernie Sanders does. But when you put up Ben Shapiro compared to Hillary Clinton, of course he does a little bit better at appealing to younger voters. But Bernie Sanders has done a phenomenal job with that, and it's probably one of the most ironic things that we've seen in the 2016 election. But, it happens. And his progressive view doesn't swing voters over to the more conservative, right-leaning view. I mean, his stance on weed could help him with younger voters, but Bernie Sanders has the same one, and he has a whole lot more that appeals to what they believe. And now, I'm not saying that all young voters would vote for Bernie Sanders, obviously not, and there's going to be people in the comment section who are saying, all my friends would vote for Ben Shapiro. Well, that's your friends. That's not the country. And studies show that the country is becoming more liberal. Generation Z is only becoming a couple percent more conservative, and one of the few studies that show a drastic change in values is not true, and it's completely taken out. And just pretty much do your own research. Don't cite sources that aren't true. Things like Breitbart or Drudge Report, those are not sources. Those do not count as sources in my eyes. I don't use that for my election predictions because they've come to a point where political bias is no longer hidden. It's blatant. But we're getting back to the video. I think Bernie Sanders could easily win the Rust Belt. I don't think Shapiro has that much of an appeal to the Rust Belt. Depending on the candidates, he could win there, but I don't think he's going to win against someone like Bernie Sanders. I also see Bernie Sanders carrying a state like North Carolina and Florida. I think that those are the two states that would go to him, and he's obviously going to carry Maine because of the fact that he's from the Northeast and he can better appeal there. And in Nebraska's second, I see Bernie Sanders carrying that narrowly. I also see him carrying Iowa. But Ben Shapiro, I could see carrying the remaining three states because Ohio, again, Bernie Sanders can't really appeal to black voters and bring them out to vote, especially with Trump turning over a number of white working class voters to the Republican Party. He can do it in the Rust Belt, but I don't see it happening in Ohio. But in Iowa, though, Bernie Sanders definitely has a much better Midwestern appeal than than Hillary Clinton did. And it's probably the excitement would be there for him to win in Iowa, and I think he could do it. I mean, he could definitely appeal to the rural voter, which Hillary Clinton couldn't and Donald Trump did. And over in Arizona and Georgia, I see Ben Shapiro pretty much winning there. I don't see Bernie Sanders bringing out these minorities to come out and overcome that red identity and put it in the Democratic column with someone like Ben Shapiro. I think he's a ruby red conservative, and I think that's what's going to win in these states. These are ruby red states, but Donald Trump is not a ruby red conservative. So that's one of the main reasons why it was a toss-up in 2016. So the final electoral map finishes off with 330 electoral votes to 208 for Ben Shapiro. Thank you guys for watching this video. Comment down suggestions below, and I'll see you all tomorrow.